Hello students, how are you? Students, today I am going to tell you the summary of the first lesson of your book Snapshot. The name of the lesson is The Summer of Beautiful White Horse, and it has been written by the writer William Saroyan. And in this lesson, William Saroyan has narrated the story of the Armenian Garaglarian family in the name of a 9 years old boy Aram. And story starts. First I want to tell you the characters of the story. The characters of the story are Aram, who was near about 9 years old boy, his cousin brother Murad, his uncle Khusro, Khusro's son Arak, a barber, John Barrow, and Aram's mother, and a horse. The story starts when Murad reached Aram's house during dawn. One night when Aram was sleeping soundly in his room, Murad reached while sitting on the back of the horse and knocked his window pane. After hearing the knocking sound of window pane, Aram got up and looked outside of the window. And he looked at Murad was sitting on the back of beautiful white horse. He could not believe in his eyes. He thought if he was dreaming. After that he moved outside of his house and touched the horse. Then he could believe that he was not dreaming, it was the reality. He was watching the real horse. But he thought from where Aram had taken the horse, because his family was poverty stricken and they could not have enough money to purchase the horse, and Murad could not also steal the horse. So question was arisen then from where Murad had taken that horse. And he asked Murad that from where he had taken the horse. If he had stolen the horse, then Murad denied and said if he wanted to ride the horse or not. Murad was also interested riding the horse. That is why he framed a new definition of stealing. And according to new definition, if the person takes the belongings of others without their permissions, having the intention of selling it into the market, then it can be called stealing. And if the person takes the belonging of others without their permission, without having the intention of selling it into the market, cannot be called stealing. After that, he sat just behind his cousin brother Murad on the back of the horse, and then horse started running. While horse was running, Murad was singing, and according to Aram, he was roaring, because Murad could not sing in a sweet voice. And Aram requested Murad to allow him to ride the horse alone. Then Murad agreed and said that he first rode the horse alone, then after that he would allow Aram to ride the horse alone. After that, after becoming exhausted, he returned and got down the horse. Then he allowed Aram to ride the horse alone. When horse sat on the back of the horse and pulled its rein. Rein means the ropes which are connected to the nostril of the horse in order to control it. And when he pulled the rein of the horse, then horse moved reared. Here horse reared, it means it moved back on its hind legs and stood on its hind legs. Then but could not move. Then Murad advised Aram to kick the heels into the muscles of the horse. After that, Aram kicked the heels into the muscles of the horse. Then horse started running in a furious speed. And after covering the little distance, it threw Aram down the ground. And Murad was not interested in Aram. And he was worried about the horse. And after that, he went in search of the horse and searched it within 15 minutes. And returned. After that, both boys were moving towards the place where he had to keep that horse. Means they moved towards the place of hiding of the horse. While they were moving, Aram asked Murad. Aram asked Murad if he kept the horse with him till he learned riding. Then Murad answered that it took 6 months to learn him riding, and if he had kept the horse for the 6 months, then their family would be called thieves, and he could not want to slander his family. After that, after keeping the horse, both the boys returned to their houses. And while Aram reached his house, he saw his uncle Khusro was sitting in the room, and his mother, Aram's mother, was serving him tea, and she also gave him tobacco and a paper, and that tobacco he spread on the paper and rolled the paper to form a cigarette, and then he started smoking cigarette and sipping tea. Uncle Khusro was a person of short temper, and once writer is saying the background, once Uncle Khusro was sitting in a barber shop, and barber was trimming his moustache, and that time his son Arak came running and informed him that his house was on fire. Then he shouted on his son, "It is no harm, pay no attention to it." When barber listened this, then he again said, he informed him again. He said these, repeated the words of Arak and said, "Your son is saying that your house is on fire." Then again Uncle Khusro shouted, "I said it is no harm, pay no attention to it." These words were the pet words of Uncle Khusro. And while Uncle Khusro was sitting in the room of Aram, and he was sipping tea and smoking cigarette, John Barrow, the owner of the horse, entered that room and to take a cup of the tea, and Aram's mother also served him tea. While they were taking tea, then John Barrow started telling the story of his stolen horse. While he was telling the story of his stolen horse, and because of his habit, Uncle Khusro, because he did not want to listen the words of anyone, and while Uncle Khusro was telling the story of his stolen horse, he shouted on him, "It is no harm, pay no attention to it." After that, Uncle Khusro became angry and moved out of the room by slamming its door. And while they were talking, Uncle Khusro and John Barrow, Aram was listening the conversation. And after that, Aram reached Murad's house for telling this. Then when he reached Murad's house, he saw Murad was sitting out of his house and he was repairing the injured wings of the robin bird. When Aram asked what he was doing, then Murad answered that he knew the way of handling the bird, and after repairing the wings of the robin bird, he set it free, and then bird flew high in the sky. After that, he told about the conversation between Uncle Khusro and John Barrow. And when Murad came to know, then he decided to return the horse as soon as possible. One day, while they were riding the horse, both boys, John Barrow, the right owner of the horse, met them on the way. And after looking at the horse, he recognized that it was his horse. But he also knew both boys, and he also knew their family, and he knew that the Garbelanian family was considered as the honest family. And he said that it was his own horse. Then Murad denied, and then he requested Murad to count the teeth of the horse. If it had 2 teeth, then it would surely his horse. After that, he put the hand into the mouth of the horse and he counted that there were 2 teeth. But he did not say anything. And he said, John Barrow said, that that horse would be the twin of his horse. And he said this because he knew Aram and Murad and his family, and they were considered the honest members. That is why he went away by saying that. And after that, Murad and Aram moved to return the horse, to keep that horse from where Murad had taken it. While they were moving to keep that horse at the place from where Murad had taken it, dogs were following them. When dogs were following them, then Aram told Murad that dogs might bark at them. Then Murad assured Aram, no, dog would bark at other persons, but they could not bark at me because could not bark at Murad or at him because he knew the way of handling the dogs also. After that, Murad kept the horse on its right place and patted it and moved away from there. And then after that, Aram reached his house. He again found John Barrow and his uncle Khusro in his room. And that time John Barrow was in a happy mood, and he was telling Uncle Khusro that his stolen horse, he found his stolen horse, and he also told Uncle Khusro that the temper of the horse was better than earlier, and its health was also better than earlier. When Uncle Khusro heard these words of John Barrow, then he shouted on him and said, "Pay no attention to it. Your horse, you got your stolen horse. Now pay no attention to it. It is no harm." Now, student, I think you will have understood the summary of this lesson, the meaning of this lesson, and in this lesson, the writer wants to tell that even after being poverty stricken, the person cannot be a cheater, and even after in a miserable condition, we should not try to cheat others, try to deceive others. We should remain honest for our whole life. Now, students, I request you to read and write the summary of this lesson in fair notebook, and tomorrow I will explain the lesson line by line. Thank you and have a nice day.